There's a couple of things and a couple of opportunities that God is calling us to do when we do our step work. He's not causing us to stay still. He's not causing us or asking us to stop still. What He's asking us to do is walk to, so that we can change for and be something. Yes. And be something. The very thing that Mary Ann's talking about. We are a bunch of addicts with I don't know how many felonies in the building. Listen to what God had to say. Came to a church and a tattoo shop and said, let's do this. And look at the result of that. Do you wonder or ever think about how important you are as a person? Amen. There's a lot of times where I walk around in my insignificant job, in my insignificant plastic world, where I'm looking at the machine mechanics of a door opening and closing, and I'm like, God, is this really what you want me to do? But I can't lie to you guys, because you watch my Facebook. You know I'm on Facebook 8.75 hours of a 10-hour day. So I can't complain. Saving lives in plastic. But do you know to yourselves exactly how important you are just the way you are? See, I didn't realize that 5 felonies ago. And so each time I had to get in trouble, I had to get a felony to try to make myself feel a little bit more important. Always searching and looking for the wrong things to find that importance. And the thing is that you never fill it something godly inside with something external from the world that's trying to offer you something. And we will look for everything. It's not just drugs, man. It is shopping. It is sick people. It is codependency. It is other habits. It's everything else on the external world that's trying to fill a God-sized hole in your life. And the problem is we try over, and we try over, and we try over again, because we forget this one thing. Do we know how important we are to God? Do we know how important we are to Jesus? It tells us in the Bible how important we are to Jesus, right? He talks about this dude named Legion. Now, I don't know if you guys know about Legion. I'm going to say a little something about Legion. We are legions. I don't know how many demons go running through me on a daily basis when someone cuts me off, when I think I've been wrong, when I was on this or on that. I have all sorts of chaoticness in my life that some of the things that I say and do can't always be because of me. They have to be demon-inspired things. But yet, even with Legion, there was something about Legion which they didn't talk about too much at the beginning of the chapters, but Legion would cry and scream at night. He would scream in pain. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I remember at night when I was by myself, and maybe I didn't always physically scream out, but I knew it was screaming out inside my head when my kids and my wife were in bed, and I knew what I was doing was wrong. I would scream, why am I doing this to myself? Why do I want to hurt her again? I didn't really care too much about hurting me, but why did I want to hurt everybody else? And so Legion would scream out at night. He would scream in pain. He would cut himself. He was tortured by himself. And it just so happens that Jesus was on the other side of the lake. And apparently at night, when they don't have planes and cell phones going off and Facebook dinging, that you can hear sound travel. And Jesus heard his cries, just like he did me at night. But he didn't always act on them right away. There were some lessons that I had to learn. There were some things that I had to go through. There were certain conditions that I had to meet in order for Jesus to come in and swoop in and show me the lessons that I needed to learn. There were times where I'm sure he wanted to jump in there, but he knew I wasn't ready. See, the student couldn't be there. I wasn't ready for the master's lesson. And so he would hear my screams and he would hear my pain just like he did Legion. And now eventually Jesus, he took the disciples and they went as a 99, you know what I'm saying? Jesus didn't just go by himself. He could have, but he didn't. He brought his homies with him. He brought his group with him. They went to Shelbyville as a group together because when one goes, we all should go. If one person's at this altar, we should all go to this altar. If I'm not experiencing the same pain as you are that day, I probably have the other day, and I might 2 months from now. So I might as well hook up with you and deal with what you're going through the same time you're going through it, so I can learn your experience so I can share it to the next person that comes in. Kind of weird how that works out, but it happens. It's almost like we're banking depression so we can give a little joy away the next time we have to. And I would rather on a good day bank your guys' depression than try to figure out how to do it when I'm not having a good day. And that's the power of numbers when we go. We're all got a different strength. We all got a different weakness. However, Jesus took all his dudes and they went across the lake. They rowboated. Or boated. Or sailboated. And they went across. And Legion came out and I actually can't imagine what this dude looked like. He probably looked like a 90-pound meth head carrying a transmission down Tipton Street, you know what I'm saying? He probably looked wild. He probably looked wild. See, that's not how you guys understand what that looks like. But he looked wild, you know what I'm saying? Legion looked wild. And Jesus did his thing, just like he did in each individual one of our lives. He did his thing in our lives. He did it when I weighed 110 pounds. He did it when I was sitting in jail. He did it when Dustin was sleeping on my couch for 3 days. Yeah. I don't have to sleep all the time.
Kids kept me covered.
They did. He does it for us in our deepest, darkest hour. How important do we have to be for Jesus to sail across whatever he's doing to come into Jackson County Jail and to stand over me when I'm asleep in Iraq going, you are important and I've got the answer and now you can hear a lesson and I've got something to tell you. And I got my pink jumpsuit on and I'm like, no one can tell me nothing. And I start listening and all of a sudden I've heard everything I've ever needed to hear in my life. Now the funny thing is everything that Jesus told me in that jail cell was everything that my wife has told me at some time or another. But the problem was when I'm not in the frame of mind to hear it, it don't matter how many different times or different ways you tell me. Jesus has got to know when the right way is at the right time and he will tell us.
Yeah.
Oh, he will tell us. So I was Legion sitting in the Jackson County Jail. And I was like, I remember sitting there going, I have hope. I'm important. And I remember Jesus telling me that night, he goes, I'm going to show you how important you are. And I can't use this guy's name because some of you guys know him, but one day we're going to see him walk in the store. He's a scary looking fellow. And he's got horns and stuff on him. And he's just scary looking all the way around. But he's nice. You know what I'm saying? He's real nice guys when he's not doing other things. And we're sitting in the cell. And it's just kind of the way that it's just drama, but it was really kind of cool how it's all set up. We're sitting in our little, because the lights go off, and we're sitting there across from each other in this little bunk. And all I can see is this moonlight kind of light coming in through, and it's directly shining on his face, and it's just scary looking. And I'm sitting here trying to tell him about the Word of God. Lockdown. Not knowing what I'm doing, because I'm just finally reading what the Word of God really is. Do I know how important I am? That I'm in jail on a felony probation revocation with a new charge, and God is continuing to use me inside of a jail block to a guy that looks like the devil himself? Do I realize how important I am that God would use me in a time where I didn't even know I could use myself? That I didn't even know I had that word inside of me? But I had something more important than having the word inside of me. I had a desire to be something different. And we all got to remember that your desires will outweigh your wisdom in every situation. We don't have to be the smartest bunch in the group, and we're usually not when we walk into some place. In fact, some of the things that we do out in public, me and my wife are like, only our group. Or when you hear someone else go, oh, that's that group. You know, that's us. We don't have to be the smartest bunch in the group, but we have got to have the desire for God. We have to have David's heart. Because then when we have David's heart, we just realize how important it is. When Legion realized that Jesus had come across the sea and took care of him and healed him. Now this is what's kind of cool. You are going to have some people that are called to follow God and follow Jesus. You're going to have some that are called. But Jesus is also going to call some to go out and lead for him. See, not everyone is going to be allowed to pick up their cross and their bag and follow Jesus. There are some of us in here that are called to go in the opposite direction and take Jesus with us, because there's someone over in Shelbyville, there's someone over in Scottsburg, there's someone in your house, there's someone at your work, there's someone that you ran into at Walmart, there's someone that's hurting, that if you're following Jesus, you may not run into this person. And we got to understand that divine crossing of God is going to come from what we learn here.
Yes.
And so sometimes in Legion, he wanted to follow. He was like, Jesus, dude, take me with you. And he tried to go to the boat, and Jesus was like, no, you can't go. And you know, I could just imagine how powerful his testimony is, right? Legion is sitting there, look, I cut myself, and I did this, and no one came down, and villagers hated me, and no one likes me, and this guy comes along with his people, and all of a sudden I feel better, and I'm ready to do something. Hey, this guy had a testimony, but that's just it. From the deepest, darkest, nastiest of himself, he was transformed into a soldier for God. Amen. Just like us. My deepest, darkest felony will never hold me back from doing God's work. Amen. I will, but he won't. And so Legion wanted to follow Jesus, and Jesus is like, I can't let you. I got something bigger for you, bro. In fact, I need you to go back where you came from. See, some of us can't go to a different town and live in a different town for the rest of our lives. Some of us have got to go back in the belly of the beast that we created. To go back and be a testimony for someone that's been watching us. And they're watching. And they're just waiting, but they're watching. And you're going to go to these people's houses and you're going to hold them. And first you're just going to see them in Walmart. And we're not going to go like this when we see them, but we're going to go up and shake their hand and we're going to love them for where they're at. Like someone loved us for where we're at. But the problem with Legion and how this works out is, if we come to celebrate recovery, and Jesus cast out our demons through the 12 steps, and we don't replace God into our lives when those 12 steps open up the holes, we walk out this door and make some bad decisions, there's going to be some pretty bad demons coming back in our lives. You cannot walk in here the same way that you're going to walk out of here. And if you're going to come in here and try to lie and just try to get by, kind of like what Floyd was doing, am I going to make it or not? You got to stand firm on what the Lord is telling you. When you walk out that door, you got to be a different man. If you come to celebrate recovery for the next 12 months and you walk in here and you walk out the same way, if you're coming in here wondering if you need to work steps, if you need to do anything, if you're waiting to get your life together, if you're waiting to quit cussing before you come to church, we ain't never going to see you again. It was nice knowing you. You're not going to get your life together before you come in to celebrate recovery and come to church. You're not going to figure out the language. You're not going to figure out the dynamics. That is what's coming here is all about, is so that we learn all together. But you're in a group of people safe enough to make the mistakes of everything that you want to make. Now, in the time of your life, is the time that you want to make every mistake that you can possibly make, so that you have a group of people that will be around loving you, telling you it's going to be okay. Just don't go back to that codependent sick person. Don't go back trying to fix people. Don't go back to the overeating. I have a confession. I should get a start over program. Not for crack, but because I had 4 double cheeseburgers today. I went to court today and I had to emotionally take care of myself. I had to leave the scene while I had an accident about a year ago now. And I finally went to court to get this taken care of. And they kept postponing and putting off. No one knew what was going on, So finally, everyone got it all figured out. I get to go on probation again for another year, which is exciting because I like probation. It helps me. Anyway, I was upset. I was stressed. There was a McDonald's in Brownstown, and I had 4. But I didn't have them all at once. I sprinkled them out through the day. And I'll be darned, this is the way God works in my life. I was convicted by God for eating those cheeseburgers. Pat, I was convicted by God for eating these cheeseburgers, knowing that my wife and my roommate and everyone else around me is struggling with the diet, and they're working hard, and they're doing their part, and I have McDonald's. But I'm not going to glorify my relapse and tell you how good it was, because the guilt's still in there. But when does it stop with the cheeseburger? It's a cheeseburger now. It's funny for me.
No.
Okay. Funny. Let's move back on this side. Pat, for me, it's funny. The cheeseburger thing is funny right now. But when does it change? See, when does the next time it's not a cheeseburger? What if the next time is a drink?
Yeah, one more drink.
What if it's just, well, I'm not really an alcoholic. I'm a meth head. So maybe, when's the next, there you go, Robbie. When's the next time, I'll just have a cigarette because I didn't bring my vape? When I begin to fill those holes inside of me and make excuses for that sin, when I become comfortable with making excuses for that sin, then I'm going to start somewhere, and it might just be with the cheeseburger. And if you look at the way our lives go, it's not too far off thinking cheeseburger today, 2 days from now crack. It's not really that far off. The behavior is there when it gets a running start. And what really happens is the devil gets in and tells me that what I did was okay. It was just this, and this isn't that. But I got to realize what God is telling me when He says that He's going to strengthen me through Him. So that means that if it's not Him, all things are that. All hurt, habits, and hang-ups have equal value in the sinhood. And I got to make sure that I don't open myself up for any legion demons. And I don't want to sit there and be that guy that has to sit in jail again 6 months from now trying to figure out why I'm there again. And if I was to really be honest, looking back over 6 months, I'm like, it started with the cheeseburger. And how dumb would that be? But it really could start that pathway. Because I almost lied to my wife about it. I almost lied to my family about it. I wasn't going to say nothing until I got 8 cheeseburgers tomorrow, because you all know how that double up goes. That's how that works. You know, and before you know it, I'm in the shower eating cheeseburgers, telling her that I'll be out in a minute. It starts somewhere. But it starts all the behaviors that celebrate recovery, and God is removing the defects of character. My defects of character don't stop just because I stopped doing meth. In fact, if not, they got stronger. And we've got to watch those things. And so, I am so sorry for your cheeseburgers.
I'm never giving you money again.
I know, I never had money. I was so happy I had money in my pocket. So, how important are you to Jesus?
Very important.
Important enough to keep you in these seats.
Yes, that's right.
Important enough to come and get you in your weakest, darkest hour. It was in your deep-rooted agony and pain and your suffering that God was birthed in your life. It was in your deepest, darkest hurt that He was able to speak to you the loudest, to show you a direction to go to, so that you could get to a place like this, so that you could be cared for and loved for. But more important, we are charged with the responsibility. If we want healing in our life, it's not just this, okay, I'm better now, life goes on. We have got to take some responsibility for some of the things we do, and some of the things that we do have got to tear down the wall between us and them. She has a job to do like we do. We have jobs to do. I remember when I used to tell my drug buddies when we're going on runs, they were like, oh, the police, police this, police that. I'm like, why do you hate them? They're the police. They have a job to do. It's their job to pull them over. It's my job to keep them out of the car. As long as everyone knows their job, we should be all right. That was our jobs here. We can't hate people for what they've decided to do with their lives. In fact, that we should be the example. And we should be out there asking our community corrections departments and our sheriff's departments, short on telling on people that we're not sure if we should do that or not, what can we do to serve you guys? What can we do to better serve your clientele without, getting all into that HIPAA Act and all that privacy? Because if we don't start somewhere, we're going to lose people.
Amen.
And we're losing already too many in the community. And me and Jan, mostly Jan, has decided that we're not going to have our silence be your comfort if you're using dope.
That's right.
You come in here using dope and you're going to get a mouth full of me and Jan. We love you enough to say something. We're not going to pretend to be like, okay, well, that's, they look weird. And then tell everyone else how weird you look. No, we're going to tell you how weird you look. If you're coming in here, it'd be the same thing if I had a woman walk in this door. If I had a woman walk in this door with 2 black eyes, I'm not going to pretend that I don't see them. I'm going to go up to that girl and I'm going to talk to her and pray for her and see what we can do to change the situation. The dope is the same thing. I'm not going to pretend that I don't see 2 dope black eyes. My silence will no longer be any added discomfort. So just keep in mind, we celebrate recovery, what we're doing. And just keep asking yourself how important you are to Jesus. So important that I have the 5 felonies, I'm on more probation, and I'm sitting here in front of all you guys and our house arrest officer getting to speak. Amen. Now, if that's what I've accomplished in this time of my life that was chaotic, guess what I'm going to accomplish when I'm following Jesus?
That's right.
There ain't no one going to be able to stop me. In a good way. In a good way. So we have lots of opportunities to go out in our community and shine, to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. If we all walk around with the same belief and same attitude, it's going to work out. I need to be looking out more for you than I am for myself. And if we all have that same attitude, where we're looking out for each other more than we're looking out for each other ourselves, we're never going to have to want anything. Because someone in our group is going to recognize a need and they're going to be in there to fill the gap. But it's only going to work if we look out for each other more than we look out for ourselves.
Right.
It's only going to work if we're reaching out to each other on Facebook or when we see each other or when we don't see each other. Me and Jan are not going to be able to see the entire Facebook. This is your guys' responsibility and charge to look out and reach out to each other. Help each other and love each other. And if people aren't able to come to you and talk, make sure you ask God, why are you not approachable? There's times where, and Lori's told me, and Floyd's told me, and Jen told me, and Courtney told me, everyone tells me, I get a face. Oh, Vanessa. Yeah. She goes, sometimes when things don't really work well in front of me, apparently I get this face. And I don't know how to do it unless I'm in that mode.
That wasn't it.
Yeah, that was it.
We know what it looks like.
But that's apparently the unapproachable face.
Yes.
You see it? Jim?
He pointed it out just a while ago.
I've seen it.
All right.
Everybody's Christian.
So if I have a newcomer coming in here, we don't want the newcomer to see whatever that is, Chris.
It's aggressive.
Aggressive.
I say progressive.
Yeah.
I say, are you kidding me?
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's something I need to work on. Now, the last thing I'm going to say, and then we'll dismiss for break and eat lunch. You guys all cry too much, and that's okay. I'm glad you do, because I don't cry enough yet. I'm learning it. I need to learn. That's a character flaw, defect, shortcoming. Anyway, I remember that day when Chris, a year ago, we were sitting back in the van. We were coming back from Bernie, Indiana. And me and Jan had just sat there, and we were sitting in this little church of 15, and maybe 20. And I think we brought 12 of them. Yeah. And then Jan's like, she raised me, she goes, look at that. And I look back, and Chris and Ron, father and son, are sitting there arm in arm in a church in Little Bernie, Indiana. Burning in that church did something that a lot of us couldn't do for whatever reason at that moment. And we saw father and son worshiping together. And these were two people that always couldn't really mix together. But here they are. Here they were, worshiping God together. And so on the way up, I'm going over back to Pat again. So on the way home, Chris is in the back seat with my little girl Serenity, my daughter. And I'm looking in the rearview mirror, and they're playing My Little Pony, and they're looking at pictures, and Chris is like, oh, this is the rainbow, something. Yeah, and so I don't really know all this and get all this. I'm just like, stop. But it was beautiful. And I saw him laughing. And it was one of those real laughs that you just don't get to do all the time. But when you do, it's so genuine and beautiful that you can't mistake it for something real genuine. And I saw him happy. And I saw him smiling. And I thought, how is this guy going around putting dope in his body when he's so happy and he's playing with a 6-year-old and they're like best buddies? And so when we got over to Courtney's house, I think, it was Courtney's house, God was like, do it, bro.
Oh no, you stopped halfway.
We did stop.
Yeah.
And I got out and I said, look, this is what God's trying to tell me and wants me to tell you, and I'm not really sure how all this works, and I don't even know what I said. And I said, and I said, but you are a great guy that loves kids and yourself and laugh, and you need to laugh. And see, here's the sad thing and the funny thing. When God uses you, I don't remember the words that I said to Chris, but they were the words that has helped change his life. And it's not because he's not important to me in my life, it's because I listened to what God was telling me to tell him. And here he is. Do you know how important you are? There's a Christian in your life somewhere that's just waiting for someone to talk to him without judging him. Go out and love somebody. But before you do that, let's pray over our dinner. Oh, here we go.